Arsenal have beaten Manchester United away at Old Trafford 1-0 in our first game of the new Premier League season. We're going to discuss the match and all the events around it. How did our new boys get along? How did they play on their debut? What can we see from their play that will influence our season? We're also going to give our player ratings for the match. It looks like Eberechi Eze is close to joining Tottenham. So what's next for Arsenal? Are we looking at a pure left winger? Are we even going to be able to buy one? Because we need to sell first by the looks of it. We're also joined by the excellent Forder on Football to discuss all of this and more on episode 9 of Red Lines and Half Spaces. Welcome everyone to episode 9 of Red Lines Half Spaces. So the first weekend of the Premier League is done and dusted. We have one more game to come, which is Leeds versus Everton tonight. But Arsenal have played their game and we've won at Old Trafford 1-0 to the Arsenal. Classic scoreline. We're going to have a look into it. We're going to discuss all the talking points because there are a lot of talking points as usual with Arsenal. And here to talk with them is my usual co-host, the lovely Joseph. Joseph, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good, mate. It's nice to be doing a podcast where we can actually talk about a game of football that matters now. It's been a long time coming, so...
I know, because we started this during pre-season, effectively, so we've been talking about nothing games, effectively. Not that pre-season is...
transfers that don't happen.
Transfers, that's usually what happens with Arsenal, isn't it? Transfers that don't happen.
Yeah,
but
so, no, looking forward to it, mate. It'd be nice to have a chat about an actual competitive game of football.
Yeah, good stuff. We also have a special guest joining us. We did tweet out about it earlier just to make sure that we get people engaged. But we have the excellent Forder on Football with us. Alex, his actual name. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey, you got it right, Yembele. Yeah, I'm all good. There's nothing better than a little win against United, is there? So, may not be the performance I was looking for, but a win's a win, so I'm in a good mood.
Exactly. If you're not in a good mood as an Arsenal fan after a win, then you're really not. You're taking football way too seriously. It's you've beaten a big rival. Look, they didn't do that well last season, but they're still a big rival. So you take an away win, tough away win, and you go on with it. But let's get into the meat and drink of it. 1-0. First game of the season, away at Old Trafford. We're going to dive into the nuts and bolts of it in a few minutes. But Alex, how did you view the game going into it? Did you think that this was going to be? Look, we've bought new players. We've bought, we've had the full preseason, no injuries, etc. Did you think we should be absolutely dominating this game? What was your thoughts going to the game of how we would approach it?
The only consistent thing with going to United, apart from maybe the inconsistent refereeing, is the fact that it's a difficult game. It was always going to be a horrible opener for us. Going to Old Trafford every year. I used to, so those of you that don't know me, I live in Cornwall, so like the end of the earth, so to speak. And I have so many memories of leaving that place and having a 6-hour drive home and feeling terrible. So I was...
That's truly awful, isn't it? That's true. That must be...
Do you know what the worst thing is? That I used to have to go with a United season ticket holder. So I have to sit in the car next to him that entire way home. Nothing worse. But so for me, I felt that I felt a bit of, I don't know, I felt sorry for Arteta because with preseason seems to have gone well. However, there has been like a slight turning tide at the moment in the way everyone's viewing our attack, the left-hand side. I feel there's a bit of unrest about the business that we've done, and I'm sure we'll get into that later. And I just felt that for him, almost, he couldn't win unless we went and absolutely blew them away. And that was never going to happen. So for me, I felt like quite nervous about this. I just wanted to get in, get the points, leave. So yeah, it was one I was a little bit worried about. I'll be honest with you.
And Joe, same question to you. How did you view the United game in context? We'd start, with the preseason context, all of these things. Same question to you.
Similar to Alex, to be honest, mate. I think he's put it really well, and we discussed it on the preview pod we done. That I don't ever remember us going to Old Trafford and putting in a good performance ever. Even when we've been there and won, even when we've put in, I would have to really rack my brains to think of a time where I say, "Oh yeah, we played really well there." We've got them. I know we've won sort of five times at Old Trafford in like 20 odd years or something. But even those 5 wins, are they like standout amazing performances where we've dominated the game? I don't think they are.
I don't think we've actually won by 2 or more goals, have we?
No,
It's always been 1-0s.
1-0s there. So we've, even when we've gone and won, we've never put in like an amazing performance. So yeah, I, like Alex said, I never expected us to go there and walk United off the park and anything like that. The overriding emotion for me was just getting there, and just everyone else had already won. We've seen City trounce Wolves, Liverpool obviously done what they done against Bournemouth, Spurs winning. I know they'll be irrelevant later in the season, but just thought, you know what, we just have to. It was just important to get 3 points, and however we done it, I didn't care as long as we got them.
Yeah, obviously it's always good to start with 3 points, but 3 points in the context of our schedule is massive because we've got a very, very tough fixture list, and obviously getting one of the away games down with a win is always a good thing. Let's dive into the nuts and bolts of it. So, Alex, I would say this, as Joe put it and as you put it, it wasn't our greatest performance, and I would call this game a very not defensive affair, but it was back and forth. It was definitely back and forth. I thought, United, obviously the stories were new attack with Brian Mbeumo, Matheus Cunha starting, Benjamin Sesko on the bench. Amorim pre-season had a full pre-season, had got his ideas over. They'd done reasonably well pre-season. And obviously Old Trafford, first game, they're going to be really up for it and going for it. And they proved to have, to be much improved. And we looked, I think, not leggy, but we didn't look fully fit. I don't think we were at maximum sharpness. What did you make of it, Alex?
No, I think that's a pretty good summary. There were elements, especially in our midfield, that just didn't look right to me. So when the lineup came out, I was actually really happy with it. There was only one change I would have made. So I wanted Timber at right back instead of Ben White. I thought, looking at it, we almost put, I think I tweeted to you, didn't I, Yembele, saying, let's see Arteta go bold. Let's see him go aggressive and attacking. And he did. The only other kind of change he could have done to go even more attacking would have been like a Medwecki out on the left rather than a Gabriel Martinelli. But to go with White and Calafiori as our fullbacks, knowing how United were going to play with wing backs, I thought that was a big, big statement. Whether or not it paid off in the long run, I don't know. It could be argued either way, I guess. But for me, looking at the lineup, I was quite pleased with it. It was just, I don't know how you two felt. Putting in Victor Gyökeres, I know you mentioned about Benjamin Sesko not starting for them. In hindsight, was that the right choice? Would it have made more sense to have a player in Victor Gyökeres running later on? Him having his debut at Old Trafford in the Premier League, that is a very, very difficult ask, especially in a completely new system for him. So, looking at the lineups, I was really, really impressed, actually. Not so much with the performance, but with the lineup itself. Yeah, I was really impressed.
So why don't we look at the lineup quickly? So we had Raya in goal, no debate there. As you said, Ben White at the back. Then you had Gabriel Saliba and Ricardo Calafiori in for Miles Lewis-Skelly instead. You then had the midfield of Zubimendi, Rice, Ødegaard. The two wingers were Saka, Martinelli, and then through the middle, Victor Gyökeres. So, as you said, Alex, close enough to the lineup that I think most Arsenal fans wanted. A few tweaks here and there, but nothing major in terms of shape or what we wanted to do, because this is the beauty, and this is a very good point to make. Our depth now, especially in the defensive areas, is probably the best in the Premier League, I would say, in terms of you took out Timber and Miles Lewis-Skelly, and you didn't really have a massive drop-off in terms of quality, because you had Calafiore, who we'll go into in the game, and then you had Ben White, who looks back to fitness. But Joe, how did you view the lineup? Did you have any differing opinions, or were you kind of the same line as myself and Alex, where pretty good, I'm happy with that lineup, I don't mind Victor Gyökeres starting, I want to see us go at it. How did you view the lineup?
Yeah, again, mate, on the preview show we done, I said I wanted White and Calafiore starting, because I felt when we go to United, and we had a bit of a debate about it, about having that element of control, and I said, I've seen us go there and try and have an element of control, and it's never worked, so why don't we just go there and try and go at them? So no, I was quite happy to see White and Calafiore playing. I think attacking wise, they offer us a lot more than Timber and Lewis-Skelly. I think Lewis-Skelly, we discussed, likes to sort of get his foot on the ball, sort of keep play ticking over, whereas Calafiore, he's just a bit wild and likes to get forward and do mad things, which makes him really unpredictable. So I was really happy with that. And given that Gyökeres scored in the Bilbao game, I was happy to see him start. I think he got his goal, so you kind of want to continue that sort of promise, if you like, that he showed in that game. He had another good chance to hit the post. So, yeah, I was more than happy to see him start. And if anything, Alex's point's a really good one. Obviously, Old Trafford's a really difficult place to start, but then could that stand him in good stead in the future? He's probably been to one of the hardest away grounds you're going to go to, one of the fixtures that we find hardest in the season. And don't get me wrong, he didn't have a great game, but I don't think he did much sort of wrong. He didn't get a lot of the ball, which again we'll go into later. But yeah, more than happy with the lineup. And yeah, it was kind of what I wanted to see.
And then in terms of the overall game, I'm just going to reel off a few match stats just for you both, just as a talking point. So possession wise, 61% United, 38-ish, 39 for us. We had one goal, obviously. In terms of shots, 22 shots to 9 for United, 9 shots for us. 7 on target for United, 3 on target for us. Shooting accuracy, 31% for United, 33% for us. In terms of the tackles, United with 22 tackles, 18 for us. This game, Alex, was very much United. We can all admit we're on the front foot for most of the game. They were definitely the aggressors. And I don't think we are there yet. I think there's, as you put it both eloquently, we are struggling still with something. It's either fitness or getting used to new players and how they operate. But we clearly didn't click in this game. There were very few elements that I thought we were synchronizing. And I know there's a lot of work to do. But defensively, it was a masterclass, in, from multiple people. But it was Man United on top. A lot of attack from them, especially the new players who we will talk about. But Alex, how did you view the nature of the game? We talked about the squad, but I thought it was a very we kind of fell into that defensive performance. I think we didn't want to do it, but we fell into it effectively.
So, I mean, looking at Amorim for a second, this is his first full season with United, and he is one of the few managers to be playing a completely different brand of football to anyone else in the Premier League. So for me, I kind of looked at it as, if you look at like boxing and things like that, when you have like a truly elite boxer, sometimes they'll come up against someone who's a southpaw and really, really struggle for a performance. So I think that was one of the elements that really kind of lent itself to us finding it hard to get our rhythm, to get into the game properly, to concede possession like we do, because I think this is probably the only game I've known for a long, long time, probably since that game against Leeds away. Was it the 22-23 season where we won, but we really didn't deserve it? And I mean, Zubimendi, for example, the game started, and within the first couple of minutes, Zubimendi is clattered by, was it Mbermo? I think it was.
yeah.
kind of elbowed on the side of the head. And I thought, okay, we know this is going to be high octane straight away. And I think that set the kind of tone of the game for us almost. So with that, we were vacating a lot of spaces, and it ended up being almost like a basketball match where it was all in transition. And I know we've all been crying out for it. Well, I know I have anyway. I've been saying a bit more.
I think most Arsenal fans have been crying out.
Yeah, like Zubimendi, one of the things I love about him is that he doesn't always try to play it. If he's under pressure, he won't just play it wide, which Partey quite often did. He will try to play centrally. And it was giving Odegaard room to move kind of more centrally and higher up the pitch. In one sense, that is fantastic. But I think for us in our first game of the season, it was always going to mean that we kind of lost control and we lost possession. And it's something that's uncharacteristic for us. So I think that the game kind of started out that way. And once it got to that, what minute did we score in? Was it about the
13th minute?
Yeah, it must have been around that, wasn't it? And I think we were happy in the knowledge of actually we're away from home. We don't need to go and chase the game now. We can try and settle into the game. And I just think if this was maybe our 10th game of the season, we would have settled into it much quicker. We would have been a lot more assured in our defensive structure. It just wasn't that way. So I kind of think maybe it being the opening game of the season and the way that Amarin's team plays, it meant that we were always going to end up with a game like this, which ended up in lots of transition, lots of shots at us, wayward shots. I think one of the stats you mentioned about the shots was the accuracy of them. It was really interesting. I looked after it, the amount of shots from inside the box, and that was kind of few and far between as well, which showed our central access and our ability to kind of penetrate them. But yeah, on the whole, it was kind of what I expected, although it's uncharacteristic for us.
Joe, Alex has mentioned obviously that, after the goal, we settled into that pattern. But do you think there was any other elements towards this? I noticed personally that a lot of players don't seem to be quite fit. And I did mention this earlier that, Declan Rice in particular didn't look 100%. I don't think he had a very good game, to be honest. I thought he was pretty poor. But a lot of players just didn't seem to be at their best. Gabriel, although it was defensive masterclass, there were a few jittery moments as well from Gabriel, where we were kind of last minute defending. Do you think there are mitigations for what we've, for this kind of performance? Because obviously it's the start of the season. Some players have had a kind of truncated preseason for various reasons, like Gyökeres as well. But I see today lots of press slating Gyökeres, and we're going to look into his game. But he's had a very truncated preseason. He only started, 3 weeks ago, didn't he? And then Madueke, a week ago?
Mm.
So do you think these mitigations go to some reason why we kind of fell into this back and forth / defensive performance, Joe?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm not if you look at it as well, if we go through him, obviously said about Gabriel, he was injured, wasn't he, for a lot to the end of last season? So he's only really just coming back from quite a serious injury. Like you said, Gyökeres has only been training with the team for however many weeks, and obviously learning a new league, playing in a new team. The team have got to learn how to play with a centre forward because he's not done that for years. So that will take time. Obviously, heartbeat of the team in the midfield, that's changed because Partey and Jorginho have both gone. Zubimendi's come in. I expect him to be brilliant, but again, going to Old Trafford in your first game is not going to be easy. So no, there's a lot of factors, mate, and looking at it sort of from a slightly different perspective, like it's Old Trafford. I mean, I've seen us go there and just be absolutely foul and just get turned over quite comfortably. So to go there and not play very well and walk away with 3 points, there's a lot of sort of things to consider, but it's game one. You're away. It's a difficult place to go at the best of times. We've gone there in red hot form before and dropped stinkers. So first game of the season, there's a lot of factors to take into account, mate. But like I said at the top of the show, you just got to be happy that we've gone to Old Trafford, taken 3 points. We don't have to go back there later in the season. We're done now. We can just move away from that. How many times have we needed to go to Old Trafford and get something and sort of be really under pressure in sort of the back end of a season, and just it's a horrible place to go when you need something like that. So to get it out of the way already, it's a blessing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Too many years have we had where we had to go to Old Trafford and something's on the line, and then we're like, oh, well, Arsenal should win this because they've got such a stronger team, and then we get absolutely turned over.
Mate, that's what it's been for years, hasn't it? Realistically, for the last 5 years, would you say, with sort of Man United?
Because it's always later in the season.
The same conversation every year. We say, "Oh, we'll smash them this year," and we never do ever. So it's just like I said, it's just nice to go there and win and take it and run, basically.
Yeah. So 1-0 to the Arsenal. It was from a set piece. So set piece FC's back, full effect. Love it. It was a corner by Declan Rice, put in by Ricardo Calafiori. Although their goalkeeper had a stinker in that regard, because he pretty much fell onto it, and the Calafiori just said, "Thank you very much, I'll have that." But look, in a game where, as we've talked about, it was difficult and defensively, we had to really put ourselves about. Set piece. Do you really care, Alex, that we scored the goal from set piece, or is it just that, look, I only care about 3 points, and this whole notion of, oh, Arsenal are the new Stoke FC, it's Stoke and all this kind of stuff. To me, and this is my personal opinion, I don't care. I want to win games. In the big games, do you ever see, in most big games against the top rivals, and look, Man United are still a top rival, there is no doubt of that. They're always games of attrition. They're never going to be free-flowing affairs, apart from the Man City game last year, which was kind of a bit of an anomaly for us. But generally, these games are tight, very cagey, and not very easy on the eye. They're more like a heart attack, effectively, Alex. Would you agree that, look, it's not ideal, but this is a weapon. This is something in our locker. At least we have it to make opportunities in the game, long throws and corners, all of these kind of things. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get why the Arsenal fans in particular are making so much noise about this.
I guess in the long term, people are just worried because we know we've got a bit of a creation problem. We end up with that horseshoe shape, and part of the reason we've all been crying out for a bit more transition and a player like Gyökeres to come in. But in all honesty, if you kind of look back through all the Premier League winners, I'm sure a lot of them have set pieces that they score from. Like it's
even Liverpool. Liverpool did it as well. Liverpool did last season. Why are they? I don't know why.
But we know it's like being an Arsenal fan. You're always going to have a target on your back, so you got to just revel in it a little bit. I think just take it and just say, well, if you can't beat us at it, unfortunately, you're just not there to compete with us. So, what I took away from it was the fact that with the new ruling, I thought, how will Jova deal with this? Because previously we've had quite a few players on the back post. We've seen blocking. We've seen, slightly different iterations. And that corner, I kept my eye on it because I thought, how are we going to set up? And what we had is Saliba and Calafiori. Calafiori was on the far post. Saliba was next to the keeper. We then had 4 players on the penalty spot and 3 that were on the outside of the box. Yeah. If you rewatch it, it's really interesting how, one, United fans are saying that there was a foul on the keeper. You watch, Zubimendi is blatantly fouled as he goes to run.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday. He was being held by De Ligt, wasn't it? It was De Ligt, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then really late, as the ball's just kind of in mid-flight, Gyökeres peels to the back post and is completely unmarked. And I thought that is obviously something that has worked in such a small space of time with him as well. And lo and behold, I think at the end of the day, if you are flapping like that and not coming out and punching it, he should be clearing Saliba out of the way. You've only got yourselves to blame.
And Saliba wasn't doing anything, was it? He wasn't holding him either. He was literally just using his body. The goalkeeper could literally shove him out of the way because he's got that onus to do that. But he didn't. He just tried to stand there. David Raya had the same kind of thing, but literally got up and punched it fully away. So again, I view it as the goalkeeper was the one at fault here. We put the pressure on. You can't take it. We score. It was a gift, wasn't it? And again, I just find it galling that we're getting so much flack for it from our own fans. I mean, Joe, we we do it to ourselves, don't we? We just like to self-mutilate ourselves, don't we? Our fan base like to eviscerate every negative part of our game. How do you view the set piece? Alex has put it really well in terms of the nice little intricate movements. This is almost like like the NFL. There's been a lot of talk over the last couple of weeks about NFL playbooks. Arsenal, I want to see the Kleover's playbook, because there are some, it's so interesting how the movements, Gyökeres, Saliba, these must be deliberate instructions. Don't touch the goalkeeper. Just put your body in, hold him there. It's not like NFL, we just put a running, a line effectively. There's actual instructions. Go this way, go that, do this, do that. Because as Alex put it, it was a new way to set up. We didn't do our usual at the back post and run in. We came in from, almost from the penalty spot into the penalty area. So how do you view the new changes, Joe? And to Alex's point, does the rules changes affect how we're going to approach set pieces?
Yeah, I think inevitably they will. Obviously, quite a lot of fuss was made over our corners last year and how it was Dark Arts FC all of a sudden, even though everyone else has been doing it for years, and now Arsenal doing it, Dark Arts, and it should be ruled out of the game for whatever reason. But yeah, it's another issue in itself. But no, it's going to have to change, mate. And the thing is, it's not a bad thing to have to change. Everything comes a bit predictable, doesn't it? If we keep doing the same thing, I know we got good results out of it last year, but inevitably at some point, someone's going to come up with a way of stopping what you're doing. And I think towards the end of the season, we did. I mean, I know Gabriel got injured and whatnot and that sort of thing, but we did seem to score fewer set pieces as the season went on. I think at the start of the season, it caught a lot of teams by surprise. And by the end of the season, I think teams had sort of semi-sussed out how to prevent conceding. So changing it up's not a bad thing. Keeps teams guessing. We'll see variations. I'm sure they'll in the Leeds game. We'll see a different type of corner, different positions, different setups. So it'll be good, mate. And I'd much prefer this Arsenal to the Arsenal that used to get bullied at set pieces. And the Arsenal,
I love it.
We all, for years and years, all we did as fans was moan about how lightweight we were, how easily we conceded goals from set pieces, how we never scored from corners. And then now we're doing all them things, and people still aren't happy with it. So it's just Arsenal fans, mate. We want it all. We don't get it all, and we just like to.
But we are. But the fact is that, as you said, Joe, for years we did nothing. I personally I'm actually quite excited when we get a corner, because I'm like, we've got a record of scoring from corners. It's not a case of now just throw it in the box and you hope that someone gets on the end of it, and we never do.
Now I feel like the opposition probably feel like we used to, where when the other team get a corner, you was always like, oh Christ, here we go. Whereas now when we get a corner, the opposition are definitely thinking, oh no. It's almost guaranteed to be a pretty good chance coming from it. Something's going to pop in the box, or it's going to be
I also love that Gabriel is the focus for everything. Like he's literally, like even the TV cameras are literally like Gabriel, his movements, he's shoving players and all this. It's nice that we can actually create this kind of fear in our opposition, isn't it, Alex? That you go, you've kicked out for a corner, you're like, oh no. Opposition get worried now when they have to concede a set piece. Even yesterday, free kicks as well. That free kick from Declan Rice, we should have scored from that as well. There's our set pieces are now something to be feared, aren't they?
That must play in to things like how you're dealing with Arsenal's press, because you've got to be worried now, not only about losing possession, but can I actually kick out for a corner? No. I've noticed as well, when Calafiori's taking throws, we've actually got someone taking long throws finally.
Both of them. And do you know what? Ben White as well has improved his throwing technique.
And it's things like that they're just extra little things to your armory. No pun intended. But it's just so nice having different ways of playing, different ways of attacking. Yeah. And Joe, you've hit the nail on the head, because I used to hate it. Conceding free kicks, conceding corners towards the end of the game, and just looking and thinking, okay, how's our defense going to deal with this? I won't name particular names. I've got some players' faces.
I think we can all. I think we can all. Look, we've got the Mustafis and the the Stepanov specials and all this kind of stuff in our head. But that's the thing, isn't it? That I heard a caller yesterday on Talk Sport say, "Oh, it's terrible. We're taking our time with throw-ins. Why are we doing this? Why are we not doing?" I'm sorry. I love our Arsenal fans. Most of them are top notch. But if you're not recognizing when you're trying to organize tactically, and trying to create an advantage, then I think that's a little bit naive of you. Look, we will do a fast throw when we need to, but we are a team who favor having the height and power to overpower most teams. So why are we not exposing it? It's not Stoke. It's just how football is these days. Football is now very much about power, speed, strength, all of these things. You don't really have tiki-taka as your, as the majority of what you play. That's just how things are. But gentlemen, I want to talk about a few players. We're going to talk about the first one, obviously the main one, which was Victor Gyökeres. £70 million signing from Sporting Lisbon, the striker that we went for over Benjamin Sesko, who was on the United bench, who came on, and we'll talk about him in a few minutes. But obviously he's had a truncated preseason, as we just said, not really played as much as we would have liked. Started the Bilbao game, scored, had a few good chances. In this game, I would say, unfortunately, it wasn't his best performance. And there are loads of mitigations, and both of you can talk about that. But I just want to give you the stats, and Alex, I want you to lead into the conversation about Gyökeres' performance, what you saw, what you think is, what are the elements to his performance, and any concerns or lack of concern or things that need to be addressed. So Gyökeres, 60 minutes play, 21 touches total, 4 passes, no shots, 3 duels won, 10 lost. How do you think his Premier League debut went? And are you one of these people who are jumping on the bandwagon already? I know the answer already, but I'm going to ask it anyway. In the press, who said this is a terrible performance, that's it, he's going to flop, all of these kind of things. Are you one of the doomsayers already, Alex?
Yeah, get rid of him, get a new striker. That's it.
That's the answer.
No, I'm quite often on Cannon Pod or on my own podcast, so my thoughts and feelings have been put out there. So I originally looked at Sesko as the more obvious option for our Arteta, essentially, and for an Arteta archetypal striker. For me personally, I thought the best option for win now would be an Osimhen. I thought he's someone that can create separation on his own. He's someone that can kind of play in those half spaces, and that was the most obvious answer for me, but it was just never going to happen. And then when Gyökeres was signed, I looked at it from my personal point of view is he's my favourite type of striker, but he was the most surprising because he runs the channels. He's more of a selfish player. He doesn't really bring others into play per se. There's been, so much said about his heading, which I think is a little bit over the top. But there's so many things that I thought were different that I liked the signing. And I thought it's nice to have. We just talked about it with the corners and long throws and actually having someone taking direct free kicks. Sometimes you need something different. And he definitely gives us that. I don't think it was, quite obvious. It wasn't his best performance. But I think people are going in a little bit heavy. I think the media are always going to do that. As I said earlier, was it George Graham that said, Arsenal are always going to be hated? And, I think, unfortunately, Gyökeres is a little bit of a victim of that. But I think he will be someone that revels in it and will understand the pressure. For him to take that number 14 shirt, I think that says it all. For him to kind of go, in one of his interviews, he said, I don't want a last minute winner. I want a hat trick. And I think that also shows that he's someone that he wants to score goals and he's not going to say the obvious answer because he's going to be honest. And I like that. It's refreshing. There's work to be done, but all in all, I'm not panicking. I'm not worried about this signing right now.
Yeah, I think it's not something to panic over. Joe, how did you assess Victor Gyökeres' performance in terms of, as Alex said, he brought something different to the game. He was, he was a central figure. He didn't drop deep. He didn't, do what Kai Havertz does, which is run the length of the pitch, etc. He was up front, in the box running the channels, which is something we haven't done for years. And obviously that created, and we'll talk about it in a further point about the transition and the setup of our attack and where our attackers were and what they were trying to do in regards to getting into Victor Gyökeres. Because as we said, he didn't have any shots. But do you think as well it was that I noticed De Ligt was literally all over him every minute. He was literally man marking. He was the man marker for him. And was literally, I thought the referee had a poor game, but there was some heavy, defensive work from De Ligt in terms of hauling down Gyökeres and all this. And to a point, I quite like it that he was strong enough. He didn't fall to the ground. He had to literally be forced down there for De Ligt to even get through, that tackle. But how did you view Victor Gyökeres' debut, Joe?
Similar to Alex, I don't get the wild sort of takes already of not good enough, bought the wrong player, all that sort of nonsense that comes with it. Very difficult game for him. Sort of lone striker up against the three centre-halves of United is always going to be a difficult task. Obviously, De Ligt done a man-mark job, and then that meant that Yoro and Luke Shaw, who started, just could sweep up in behind. And he's against three defenders by himself, essentially. So that's never going to be easy as a starting point. He got 0 in the way of service from Odegaard, Martinelli, Zubimendi, Saka. None of them gave him anything to work with. And there's only so much you can do. Do you know what I mean? There was a few things I liked, like when he went shoulder to shoulder with De Ligt in the first half, dumped him on his arse. I did enjoy that. That was a good sign for me. Shows that he's sort of got the physicality for the league already. That was promising. And although he wasn't receiving the ball, he'd made some good runs into good areas, which is promising to see. Hopefully, sooner rather than later, we will start actually giving the ball into those sort of channels that he did make a few good runs. But no, all in all, I mean, I'd say it's a pretty average performance. I mean, my centre forward, you'd want him to be getting shots on goal at least and sort of doing something in the sort of attacking third of the pitch. More touches in and around the area, of course, but the game didn't play out in a way that he could do that. So no, I mean, again, pressing wise as well, he's got to learn that element of it. We press in a very certain way, so he needs to adapt to that. So it's all a work in progress, and as a starting point, I'm not too displeased with it. I didn't expect a great deal more, to be honest. In Dream World, you'd love him to go to Old Trafford and score a goal, but that's what it is, Dream World. So no, it's a fairly average start, and from here I can only see him getting better. So,
but as you both put it earlier, this is a good almost baptism of fire, isn't it? You go to one of the toughest places, you're playing in a red hot atmosphere, and it was a red hot. The United fans were up for it. Playing against a 3-man defence, you hold your own. Didn't have a great performance, but you still put yourself about at least, and you made a few. You tried to influence the game. He didn't do much in that sense, but he's half fit. He's clearly needs a little bit more work because he's a big guy. Someone mentioned it. He's a big lad, and when you're a big lad, you need to do a bit more work to get yourself fit because obviously you're carrying extra muscle and all of this to get yourself into Premier League fitness. As well as that, both of you put it, our service was nothing in terms of they didn't offer anything. Odegaard put a few channel balls in, but they were overweighted or underweighted so that they couldn't, they need to get used to providing the right weight of pass to him to allow that. I thought Saka as well was pretty poor in that regard. He didn't really put anything in for Gyökeres to feed on. No crosses. He kept coming inside trying to shoot and trying to be the man effectively. And he needs to just sometimes stop. There was a few opportunities where he could have crossed it in, from with that left foot, swing it in and let Gyökeres have a go at it. Because I thought actually physically, in terms of getting up for the ball, he did pretty well actually against, big lad in De Ligt. There's no doubt of that. But as you both said, there was nothing from the wide players to help him. They all want to cut inside. They're not looking up enough. It's all head down. All very much, I'll go back and then we'll recycle again. Odegaard, I thought, was a little bit better in terms of he was trying his best, and Zubimendi tried as well. But there is a clear gap between what Gyökeres wants and what the rest of the guys can do, and they need to work on that consistently. These relationships take a lot of time, and it will come. I'm actually pretty confident it will come because despite everything, in terms of the physical nature, I think Gyökeres has it because, again, half fit, still held his own. What we need to see is now get him into positions where he's going to be able to shoot and see those shots come off and that rocket that we do know he's got in his left foot. So I think there's certainly room for improvement, but there's mitigations as well. I want to touch on the other new signing who did start, which was Martin Zubimendi. Played at the spine. As Joe mentioned, got absolutely clattered in the first few minutes by Mbeumo as a welcome to the Premier League. But I still think held his own. Alex, how did you view Martin Zubimendi's performance? I'll just give you some stats. 89% pass completion, 50% duels won, 3 tackles, 2 clearances, 1 block shot, 1 interception. I'd say that's a pretty good starting point for him.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't an easy first kind of 10, 15 minutes for him. And I think it took about probably the first half an hour for him to get into the game and involved. But I think Joe mentioned it right at the beginning of the show. You said about how we've got certain players that have left the club in Partey and Jorginho, and then you've kind of changed that engine room per se. We know Odegaard has not been at his best over the past season. And I'm sure we'll talk about him a bit later, but when you are then kind of relying on Declan Rice as your main legs, and I think that was one of the poorest performances I've seen from him. It was so difficult for Martin Zubimendi, and they were kind of bypassing our midfield. Man United quite often were playing out wide, and the wing backs, I must say, Dalot and Dorgu were fantastic. They were really good, and it just there's room, for improvement, definitely with how we're going to play that system. I thought perhaps that Declan Rice might kind of come a little bit further and into more of a defensive double pivot with him in this game, and maybe it's the fact that Calafiori was breaking lines. He was making that almost like a left 8 underlapping run that we saw from Xhaka a lot of the time. But so maybe that didn't help as well, that we didn't have Miles Lewis-Skelly from the off entering midfield and making that box midfield with him. It was all a bit just different, a little bit disjointed.
Unbalanced. It looked really unbalanced, didn't it? Because in the Bilbao game, we saw the double pivot, and that was working very nicely, I thought. But Declan was getting further forward, but again, he wasn't really influencing much. He looked a passenger in that game almost. Didn't really tackle very well. Looked leggy. I mean, Joe, to Alex's point, do you feel that the imbalance didn't help Zubimendi because he's played a double pivot? And then now it's changed again. Where did you see Zubimendi's performance in this game?
Yeah, fairly average, wasn't it? I mean, didn't do anything massively wrong and didn't really contribute anything in the game, I don't think. He just sort of existed, if you like, in the midfield. But playing at home against Bilbao in a friendly is a very different environment to playing at Old Trafford in a Premier League opener. So I think we need to bear that in mind. He played brilliant in that game. Everyone did, but it was a friendly, and we was always going to smash Bilbao, weren't we? So I think, it just need, like same with Gyökeres, Zubimendi. It all needs context. Their debuts in a new league in a very difficult place where we never play well. So all these factors have got to come into consideration. I don't think either of them looked out of place or shamed himself, but I think it's just quite clear that the team still needs some work. Obviously, we're trying to play a different way this year, and we've obviously had the spine of our team for quite a sort of few seasons now. So the fact that's now changed means obviously the dynamic of the whole team changes, and things like that take time. It's new sort of midfield partnerships, new sort of runs that Gyökeres will be making, new channels, new sort of patterns of play. All these kind of things all come into consideration when you kind of think about the performances. So it's going to take time. It will. But as a starting point for me, it was fine. Obviously, we want more than fine, but I think moving forward each week, I would like to personally see a bit more fluidity in our game, a bit more sort of progression in these relationships. And I think we'll see that. These are good players, and give them time, and I think they will all come to shine for us.
Yeah, I think so. They're too good a player. Both of them are too good to not contribute to the team, Alex, aren't they? look, as Joe said, they didn't put anything to shame. They weren't stinkers. It wasn't. I know Gyökeres. The press are going in hard on Gyökeres, which was natural. It's always going to be that way. But I didn't see anything that made me think, okay, that's it. They're clearly not the signing. These are well scouted players, aren't they, Alex? And you can see it's going to come. It is going to come.
I mean, I've said outright that I think Zubimendi would be signing of the season.
I've said it as well.
He is far too good a player and technically sound to not work it out. I think Rodri, if I'm not mistaken, when he first came to the Premier League, he didn't set the Premier League on fire. The difference is he had a full system that was kind of already working, and he had players in, was it Fernandinho at the time?
Fernandinho was there, wasn't he?
They could slowly bring him in and bleed him into the team and show him exactly how we want to play in terms of and that's under Pep Guardiola. So to Zubimendi's, for him, I think to come in, he hasn't ashamed himself, and it's not like panic stations. What do we do? He'll grow as the season goes on, and I think it will be quite a quick change around for him. Then within, by the time we play Newcastle, I expect him to start to kind of get.
Wow, that quickly?
Play. Yeah, I think just simply because he is that good of a player. And apart from Martin Odegaard, I don't think there's anyone as, what's the word? Kind of, he's
that
like a coach on a pitch.
Yeah, they've said that about Xhaka as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Whereas Gyökeres, he will take longer. I think he'll be kind of more towards January, February time because we've got to understand how to play to Gyökeres. Whereas I think Zubimendi can easily assimilate himself and just work things out. It's not like he's the type of player that's just going to constantly lose the ball because he's high risk. He is high risk sometimes in his passing, but he's so good at retaining possession. He's unbelievably good. And the other thing I don't think people realize is how big he is. I think a lot of people think he's this very, like in a Rosicky mold or Cazorla or something. He's not. He's a big lad, and he can really kind of put himself about. And
he did, didn't he? He put himself about yesterday, didn't he? He wasn't afraid to put the foot in. He got clattered in the first minute, which I think was probably the best introduction that you could get actually into the Premier League to know, look, you're in a fight pretty much. So.
But he did win against Newcastle in a pre-season as well, didn't he? He didn't kind of just...
and he's going to be tested. He's definitely going to be tested in these first 6 games because it's not an easy schedule. So I think I think he will definitely grow into the game. But I think you're right, Alex. The transition time for Zubimendi, I think, is going to be less than it's going to need for Gyökeres, just simply because of the types of players they are. One other player who did make his debut as a substitute was Noni Madueke. Oh geez. Didn't have much time, but he did have a clear-cut opportunity towards the end, didn't he, Joe? I feel for the boy because he's come under a cloud. He wasn't necessarily the player that we wanted this preseason. We got him. A lot of noise happened. We all want to support him, but as well, yesterday he had a gilt-edged chance. Again, let's wrap it around the fact that he's only had a week of training. But yesterday he had an open goal, didn't he, pretty much?
So I've not seen any replays of that chance. I only saw it, obviously, within the game itself. Yeah. Was it should he have scored? Was it like a sitter?
He should have scored. He should have scored. It was a sitter. It was a pretty much sitter.
Because obviously I've only seen it once, so I was wondering, was it like sort of waist height a bit behind him? Was it kind of like but was it as bad?
I can't give any mitigation for this one. This was literally, I think, it was.
First game of the season. We won 1-0. Let's not worry about it too much. But I feel for him, and we've discussed it, at length about sort of the stick, the unfair criticism that came his way just through signing for the club, which is a bit mad in itself. But no, I like to think that, judging from the Bilbao game as well, he gives us something very different on the left-hand side. Having a player who can beat someone on the outside and whip a ball in is something we've not seen for years in wide areas, because we've said numerous times, having a predominantly right-footed player on the left wing and a predominantly left-footed player on the right wing, all our football was very narrow. We rely on Ben White essentially to give us width, and he's pretty much the only player that does it. So I'm looking forward to seeing Madueke once he settles in a bit. Again, obviously that sort of miss aside, I don't think he was very involved in the game, but I think by that time, I think we'd kind of made our bed and said, you know what, this isn't our day. We're just going to take the 1-0. Let's not be silly. I think he needs to work on his defensive side a bit, because I think what you did see when he come on was what Martinelli offers defensively. Because I think Ahmad had come on and he skinned Madueke a couple of times.
Three times he did that. I was like, oh my God, oh jeez.
So it was in that moment, I think you kind of see the value of a Martinelli, and it kind of makes sense why he gets as many minutes as he does when you don't see the end product going forwards. He offers a lot defensively.
Yeah.
So obviously that needs sort of improvement from Madueke, but again, like we've discussed with Mendy and Gyökeres, you've got to give these players time. We can't. I know we like to sensationalise everything, but you can't write players off after one game.
So let's go with the question that probably a few people will be asking. Leeds at home is the coming game. Do you start Madueke or Martinelli? Because Martinelli, you said, provides a good defensive posture, but he didn't have anything in that game at all, did he really? And obviously there is talk of maybe we should try something different. Madueke, still not fully fit, but offers something different. Who would you go with for Leeds? Given that it's at home, with all due respect, it is Leeds. You would think that we should have a better performance in us in the first game at home. What would you do, Alex? To you first.
Spot there. I haven't really thought about this.
Hey, that's what we like to do. Unbalance people.
Thanks, mate. I don't know. I don't know genuinely if I'd be hedging towards Trossard for that game.
Out of the left field.
Yeah, which is not something that I would usually go for. However, I don't know whether you start with Havertz and you bring Gyökeres into it later, and you start with Trossard and bring Madueke in later as well. Oh, I don't know.
Who would you go? So I'm going to put you on the spot. Give me a name. Left wing starter. Who is it going to be for you?
I'm going to go with Trossard, which I don't think I would have said actually. But for that
It's
game,
that bad. It's that bad already.
Yeah, it is. For that game, I just think he's a player that he's quite good at finding just spaces. And at the moment, I don't have that with Martinelli in transition. Like yesterday, that should have been a game that was right up Martinelli Street.
Because it was so wide open, yeah.
And yet he still was making. His running lines at times, I just despair. Didn't
he run over Victor Gyökeres effectively when Erdegaard? It was the three of them. It was him, Saka, Erdegaard, and you're like, what's happened here? Why is the field narrowed all of a sudden?
I think Madueke, he definitely gives you something different. Like Joe's hit the nail on the head. In terms of one of my bugbears has been the fact that quite often we don't know what to do when we get into the final third. And I think if you have Madueke out on the left, he's able to go down the line and he's able to do cutbacks. On the right-hand side, Ben White can do that. Like for me, I've said it before, I would quite like to see some more fluidity and see Odegaard on the left, because him being predominantly left-footed, his passing angles would be really good for like a Gyökeres in those half spaces. I think that would then also open up for Madueke to get down to the line. Not all the time, but just see some kind of, switching between the two. Also, if Declan Rice is on the right, you've then got that opportunity of Saka cutting in on his left foot, which is fine. It does collapse the pitch slightly, but he is so good. That's what you want him to do. Declan Rice is on the right-hand side. He can also go down the half space, then cut back. Again, perfect for Victor Gyökeres. And that's something I'd like to see sometimes. But yeah, just for the start, I think maybe Trossard, and then you look to start changing the game, because sometimes we get stuck and it's stifling and there's no variety in our play. So that's why I'm going with that. I'm trying to like
justify. He might not even be here. He might not even be here by the time we get to the Leeds game. Joe, same question to you. Who do you start with? Don't say Trossard, please. It's going to kill my argument completely. It's going to kill my.
Would you accept Reece Nelson?
Oh, jeez.
I think realistically, it'll probably be Martinelli, just for sort of. I think that's what Arteta will do. But
what would you do?
You know my feelings about Martinelli recently, so I think I'd be tempted to go with Madueke personally and bring Martinelli off the bench when he seems to always do better coming off the bench at the moment. So it feels harsh saying it, but I've just been waiting for Martinelli to light up for so long, and it's just not happening. And like Alex has said it perfectly there, yesterday was the game that we all kind of tell ourselves that Martinelli dreams of, and in these games, this is when we're going to see the very best of him. When he's got space to run into, when it's a bit of a transition game, he'll come alive and he'll be brilliant. And he was terrible again yesterday.
Even in the transition, he was awful. He had 1-on-1, didn't he? And he got going down the wrong route.
Everything he'd done yesterday, it was kind of. I don't want to jump on too much because, like I say, it's the first game, but you just saw all the negative points that are raised about Martinelli were all encapsulated in that one game yesterday.
So here's a small leading question. Let's try and get through it quickly because we want to get through some player ratings. We still need a left winger, I think. What do you guys think? Fordo, yes or no?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes, times 2.
So yeah, it's a fervent yes from everybody. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen, for the review of the Man United game. We're going to talk about our player rating, so we're going to try and do this quickly. We'll go through each one of us, give our ratings 1 to 10. 1 being terrible, 10 being amazing. So let's start with David Raya. I am going to give David Raya, my man of the match, and a 9. I thought he was the difference. Without him, we would not.
A 9? Fucking hell, yeah.
No. No. You
are starting with fire in these player ratings.
No. My ratings tend to tail off. Just watch. But I thought he was the difference. Without him, this game could have gone a completely different way. He was everywhere, punched well. That save from Cunha, where Cunha, shot towards the far post and literally fingertips. That's the difference between the top goalkeepers. That your goalkeeper will save you when it looks like it's a certain goal. And that was David Raya. The only down point I'll put onto him is his kicking was a little bit off. Not exactly the greatest kicking in the world. Actually, I'm going to downgrade him. I'm going to put it at an 8 because his kicking was awful. But yeah, he was the man of the match for me. He was the difference. Alex, your rating for David Raya?
Say just an 8. There are so many decisions he made that are just really odd for David Raya. He's usually really, really good at being decisive. And at times he just kind of dilly-dallied on the ball. And I don't know, I'm not very often worried when he's in possession at his feet. And yesterday I was. But having said that, he did essentially give us the win. Like, there's no way that... There was another save, wasn't there? Another Cunha save that he had. And yeah, he was very good at the things that you don't usually associate with him yesterday, but that was almost like the story of Arsenal, wasn't it? There we go.
Joe?
Yeah, I'm happy to agree with you, gents, and give him an 8. Essentially, he gets an 8 because he was the reason we won the match. We'll keep it as simple as that.
I like it, Joe. Short and sweet. That's good. Moving into the defence, Ricardo Calafiori scored the goal. I thought had a decent game, actually. The only concern I have with him is defensively, still struggle. And again, they're not at full fitness yet, but still struggles to get back quick enough into position when he's galloped up the field and gone into central midfield or up front. Alex, you're right. So I'm going to give him a 6 because I think he scored the goal. Six or seven. I don't know because he scored the goal.
Stick to your guns, yeah.
7. I'm going to go with 7.
Oh,
because he scored the goal. Just okay. So Alex, what are you going to go with?
For me, I think he was probably our best outfield player, like on the ball yesterday in terms of, which is worrying. Here's a question before I give my rating. Do you think Arteta played Martinelli yesterday simply because he does not trust Calafiori defensively?
It's a possibility because defensively, Calafiori is not the quickest getting back. Tactically, he can tackle very well. He's a central defender by trade. But when he goes upfield, you don't really see him coming back busting a gut, do you? He's kind of slow clip clop back if you're using the horse analogy. So yeah, for me, I agree with that actually. You know, if Madueke, we did see it actually when Madueke was there and Calafiori was on for a few minutes, it did look great.
Nah, I think I'd give him a 7.
Okay.
He's almost like our only maverick, which is insane to say. It's so Arteta, isn't it? Our left back is our maverick. You know, just running through the half spaces, causing chaos. Like even for the corner, so he runs through. He then goes on the overlap. I think he tries a cutback right from the touchline, which is insane in itself. Loses possession, then regains possession.
I remember
gets
this.
The corner, of course, scores the corner. So, like, I think if you just watch that, 2-minute period, that is Calafiori in a nutshell. And then, lo and behold, about 10 minutes later, he wins an aerial duel with Mbeumo, no problem. Then there's a ground duel, and he makes a mess of it. So, yeah, for me, a 7 is fair. He could do better, but
Joe.
Yeah, I'll go with 7. Got the goal. Had a really good opportunity as well when he went on the underlap inside Martinelli. Martinelli just took a split second too long to play the ball, and we was in. And
I remember that one. That was
I would have said he would inevitably square it, but no, Calafiori would probably try and lob the keeper and do a madness. But, so no, he had a good game. Obviously, we know that he's kind of limitations, and he's kind of, you know, how he likes to kind of vacate the left back role at times. But I'm not. Is that a him thing or is that an Arteta thing who's telling him to do that? I'm not sure.
Well, Arteta would allow it, wouldn't he?
Much of a thing where someone from midfield should be covering him when he's not there, but I don't know. So the 7 for me as well.
Okay, let's move on. Gabriel, I'd say a shaky game. Defensively, the whole unit did well, but I don't think he had his best game. He had a few nice touches. One nice pass, which I saw, which was floated over to the right-hand side, which I thought, wow, Gabriel doing well. But generally, this wasn't a very Gabriel performance. There is a caveat that he's still not at full fitness. You can tell that. But good duels, still strong. I'm going to give him a 6. I think it didn't warrant more than that for me. I think he did okay, but it was clearly not a Gabriel performance. Alex, what's your rating?
Yeah, I would go for a 6. There was one. I mean, to be fair to him, he hasn't had much of a pre-season, has he? He's just more or less come straight in. But do you remember there was a moment where Cunha got the ball in his own half, drove forwards. Zubimendi and Rice kind of didn't know who was going to make the challenge. And Gabriel was really tentative. He didn't fully commit. And I thought, he's just going to clatter him here. And he didn't. And I thought, well, maybe that just shows how off he is from match sharpness. Yeah. So yeah, no more than a 6, but I love him. Absolutely love him. So, you know, it will be amazing soon.
Joe, your rating?
I'm going to sort of help you along here, and give Gabriel and Saliba both 6s. I thought first half, both of them were poor. Second half was improvement, but I don't think either of them had outstanding games. So I think both of them get a 6 for me. Both I think we've seen do a lot better.
I actually am going to give William Saliba a 5 yesterday. The reason being is I thought when he came out with the ball, he lost it more often than not. I tried to go on a couple of runs where he tried to, split the midfield, and he lost it more often than not by miscontrolling. I also thought he wasn't as strong as I would like against, Cunha especially. For me, it was a pretty poor performance. It wasn't his greatest performance. In the air was okay, wasn't dominant, but it wasn't a William Saliba performance for me. It wasn't his usual Rolls Royce performance. It was more of a disjointed performance because his passing was pretty off for me. Alex?
I'd give him a 6. I'll go with Joe on this one. I think, it's not a vintage Saliba performance, but there are a couple of times where he got across. I think actually from that Cunha run where there was, the 3 players that went to him and Saliba got him wider and wider and wider, and it was a really poor shot from Cunha at the end. But just again, it's fine. We got the win. Not wide.
Ben White, I'm going to give a 6. Thought he did okay. Wasn't great at tracking back. Struggled with Cunha, I would say, a little bit in terms of Cunha coming from the left hand, from the United left hand side. Got spun a couple of times. Still working back to fitness, but looks a lot better than what he did. There was a couple of tackles there, but I wasn't. Didn't really get the chance to make the overlapping runs that he usually does. And when he did, he wasn't found because our wingers were so poor yesterday. Alex, what was your rating for Ben White?
6 for Ben White. I think he was probably on the balance of the entire game, better than the centre-backs, but it was United's formation, wasn't it? Like Mason Mount, I thought was going to play more of the false 9 like he did in pre-season, and him peeling inwards, it was like, what do we do? How do we deal with Dorgu? Do I go to Dorgu? Do I go and follow him? Do I go into
Dorgu? Was
a lot of the time he was kind of in between 2 minds, but it wasn't like I have seen Ben White get absolutely torched by some left wingers at times, 1-on-1, and it wasn't anything like that. Going forward, he was quite good, like Ben White does.
Joe, your rating?
Yeah, 6 for me as well. I think he struggled a bit with Dorgu at times. But it's good to see Ben White sort of looking fit again, if you like. Obviously, he's still working on it, but he's looking a lot fitter than he did at the back end of last season. And he'll be a big plus going forward to having him back. So, yeah, solid enough 6.
Okay, going into the midfield. Martin Zubimendi, I'm going to give him a 6. Again, had good moments. It took a bit of time for him to find his feet. Got clattered in the first few minutes, but started to drop back into that defensive kind of positioning which he likes to occupy between the 2 defenders to really start moving the ball. And I think there was enough there that I kind of said, yeah, he's going to fit in really well with us. Alex, what was your rating for Martin Zubimendi?
Yeah, 6 from me. Nothing amazing, nothing horrendous. Yeah, 6.
Joe?
Yeah, 6 for me as well. Didn't do much on the ball, but I think in the second half, off the ball, we kind of helped us defensively. I don't think we looked anywhere near as open. Obviously, we dropped a little bit deeper, I think, but no, he was solid enough. Like I said, we'll expect more from him in the coming games, but 6 for yesterday.
Declan Rice. I'm going to give Declan a 4 on this one. I don't know what. I know he's half fit, but there was nothing from Declan yesterday at all. I don't think he even had a moment, did he? Was there a moment where you thought, oh, Declan Rice has done something, which he usually does? He had one free kick. He took the free kick where it kind of was like the Real Madrid-esque positioning. That was about it from Declan Rice. He was pretty absent through the whole thing. Alex, what would you say?
Looking at his stats, 0 interceptions, 0 ground duels won, 0 aerial duels won, 0 dribble attempts. Like, it. Not a Declan Rice performance. He's like all action, isn't he? He was, I would say, a 4 from me as well. But again, he always starts the season slow, and there was obviously a reason. I think it was.
He's had a baby. He's had a baby. He's had a baby apparently.
I know, and we all know how that feels.
Yes, Joe does it. Joe does intimately right now. He's had a little.
Yes.
Yeah, 4. Yeah, I just think, a 4 from me. And there's got to be a reason that at the end of the day.
Yeah, Declan Rice doesn't drop 4s. Yeah, Declan Rice usually doesn't drop 4s. I mean, Joe, what was your rating for him?
Yeah, I'll go the same. Given them stats, it could arguably be lower, but no, I think we'll go with a 4. It's the first game of the season. We'll cut him a bit of slack.
Yeah. Martin Odegaard, I gave a 7. The reason being is that I thought he was the main driver of any attack that we had, and I thought he had there's clearly work for him to do in terms of his relationship with Victor Gyökeres, but he was pressing like mad through the whole game. He was the instigator. He's back to that kind of, mad presser that we liked, where he tried to initiate the press heavily. Looked much more smoother. Riding tackles a lot better. Wasn't scared. Just the final ball is still the element that's still missing, but that's not necessarily all him. It's also that the movement that from our front players is not enough, and he's still getting used to Victor Gyökeres' runs. But it's definitely an improvement from Martin Odegaard. I mean, Alex, what would you give him?
I'm allowed to give half marks. I don't know.
Yeah, of course you can.
Can I?
Yeah, of course you can.
6.5 there, Joe's face.
6.5. No quarter. We don't do quarters here.
Obviously, listening to this and not able to see Joe's face, that was a disgusted look at the idea of giving a half mark. I can't give him a 7. Like, 7 to me is like a really stellar performance. Nothing outlandish, but very good. And I just feel that at times he still doesn't release the ball quick enough, and he doesn't make the right pass. He was definitely a fit Martin Odegaard, and that is a very, very good thing for us. Like, the pressing was amazing. He was orchestrating and trying to. There are several times I saw him telling Victor Gyökeres like where to go. Our press is one of the best in the world, to be honest, and it is not something easy to get. It was really important, and I think he was our best. He was our best midfielder. That doesn't say a lot about our midfield when we've got Declan Rice putting up a 4 or possibly lower.
Joe, your rating for Martin Odegaard?
Oh, I think you're very generous here. I thought I was generous giving him a 6, to be honest. He done very well off the ball. Don't get me wrong. Like, the pressing was very good, but on the ball, he was, I think, terrible.
Really?
Final third, he had opportunities, I think, to make what I would consider for Martin Odegaard fairly simple passes, fairly obvious passes.
He held on to it a bit long. Yeah, he held on to it a bit
too long. Just gave it to the defence. Like, I was quite disappointed with, considering the space he had as well. I think it's probably a factor. I feel like he had more space than he normally gets, and he still didn't create anything. So that's why I've gone arguably a bit harsh, but I just expect a lot more from him.
Oh, it's a variation of opinion. Great variation of opinion. Bukayo Saka, I'm going to drop I think he had a stinker. I think a 3 is pretty generous for him as well, because I don't think what did he do? He didn't do anything. I can't remember what he did. He was fairly absent through the game.
3.
Alex? 3, yeah, because I don't see anything.
I don't think he was as bad as Declan Rice.
He wasn't far off.
I mean, to be fair, he wasn't far off. But he wasn't.
What did he do? But he didn't do anything with it.
You know what? I said this during pre-season. He seems to be like half a second off, because Bukayo's not the fastest player on the pitch. He never kind of just beats a player for pace. He jockeys them, stands them up, and then he's clever enough to kind of just get away from them.
Yeah.
And it seems that at the moment, it's always that kind of millisecond out where the player just gets their toe to it and he loses possession. It's not looking good for Bukayo at the moment, because Max Dowman, quite frankly, has been outperforming him every single time since pre-season. You're making me think, oh God, maybe I should be going lower. No, I'm going to go with a 4. I'm going to put him on par with Declan Rice. I would give him a
Joe?
3.
Yeah, I'm on par with Alex, and the Declan Rice comparison here. Didn't do anything really, did he? And yeah, 4.
Okay.
The less said, the better.
Gabriel Martinelli, I'm going to drop another 3 here, because it was even worse with Gabriel Martinelli. I can't drop a 2 because he at least did something in the game, but yeah, this was awful. This is look, I love Gabriel Martinelli. I've made no secret about it. I think if you platform him correctly, there is a really good player in there. He's an inside forward. He's not a winger. But some of the basics that were supposed to be done by Martinelli when you're running through, when you've got space, when you've got what you wanted, were not good enough. He looks devoid of confidence. He looks like he's doesn't quite. There's something off there. Something's wrong, and I can't put my finger on it. If it's part of its system, but is part of it personality or fitness or something else? There is something there that is blocking Martinelli going back to what he was. I don't know what it is anymore. Alex, what are you going to give him?
Is 3? I'm just thinking about
3's an abysmal performance.
I'm just thinking though, if you conceded possession and someone ran through and scored, that might be when you're going, okay, that's a
no, but there wasn't anything there.
An own goal, you're talking like a 1 or a, you know what I mean?
I know, but
3, that's so poor, isn't it? The problem is, I want to be positive about him. I feel terrible because everyone's gunning for the poor lad. But I think 3 might be the cool. So yeah, I think I might go with 3.
I hate it. Honestly, hate it.
With you, Yembele, but I'm going to have to. It's a 3.
Joe,
I'm happy to go with 3. I could arguably go lower, but we'll keep it. We'll keep it fairly lucky. Go 3.
Okay. Victor Gyökeres. I'd give him a 4 just for the. But again, there was some moments where he was a physical presence up front, and he was raking the runs. I think as well. Again, the attackers did not help him at all. There was no service to him. He tried, and at least he made himself put himself about. But I don't think that, again, he didn't have any shots on goal. Or arguably a 3, but I'm going to give him a 4 because I don't think it was from him being poor. I think it was just that he wasn't being helped at all by the attackers. He was on his own pretty much. Alex, what are you going to give him?
4 as well. He wasn't as bad as Martinelli, but you can only do so much, can't you? And sometimes, do you know what? When David Raya is punting the ball over the press, I'm thinking, we all know, we've all seen the statistics about his heading. He is not going to win these aerial duels. So we've got to learn how to play with him. And I did feel sorry for him, but at the same time, there was that one period where he got the ball and he was more or less one-on-one. And then stepped on the ball and
fell over. He almost felt because and Sky said, "Well, it's a dry pitch. It's a summer's day. It's a dry pitch." I was like, "A bit generous, isn't it?" But I'll take it.
So yeah, 4 from me.
Joe,
yeah, I'll go 4 as well. It was as a team, it was a subpar performance, wasn't it? But like we said, if without any service, you're not going to get high markings as a centre forward. So I think 4 is a fairly fair reflection of his first performance for us.
Okay, I'm not going to cover the substitutes. It wasn't anything special from any of them, so it's not like you get anything from it. I thought Timber.
Shout out Timber. I think Timber done well when he come on. In fairness,
Timber actually. 6. I'd give Timber a 6, just based on the time he had, etc. 6 for me. Alex, Timber.
Yeah, 6 for me as well. Yeah.
Joe?
Yeah, give him a 6.
Who would you start? Who are you going to start at Leeds? I would start Timber, honestly. I still think Timber is the better player for me out of Ben White and Timber. I just think, look, Timber is not as good offensively, but he's not as bad as drop-off in terms of defence either, because I think Timber gets back quicker. One-on-one, he's a beast. I can't think of a better defender one-on-one than him. Alex, who are you going to start against Leeds?
It does depend on who starts at left back, but I think Timber out on right and then Calafiori out on the left still.
Joe?
I think I'd continue being at home, continue with Ben White.
Okay. Fair enough, sticking to your guns.
Yeah, I like it. I like me, I like attacking football. I don't like this controlled nonsense. I just want everyone thrown forward. Go and score some. If we can see
I'm
that kind of.
What you like Tottenham of last year? You like the Tottenham of last year? Throw it all forward. Okay. Again, work for us to do clearly, but Leeds gives us a good opportunity. Let's talk about quickly before we end the program. A couple of few bits that we want to talk about. The Premier League, obviously, first week is now done pretty much. Aston Villa drew with Newcastle 0-0. What a dire game this was. Anything you want to say about it? I'm just going to go rattle through these, but I thought it was a terrible game. Both teams showed where they are. They're struggling with changes and trying to be, get back to where they were. I think they're going to struggle this season unless they buy some new players. Sunderland, what a surprise here. 3-0 against West Ham. Are Sunderland staying up, gents, for you guys? I know it's the first week and we could massively, but they've spent 150 million. Do you think they'll stay up? Alex,
if you ask me that. Oh, go on, Joe.
Sorry, Alex. I don't think they will, but I think of the 3 teams that have been promoted, obviously we've not seen Leeds yet, I think Sunderland have the best chance.
Alex?
Yeah, I'd agree with that, actually.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if West Ham end up in trouble.
I think they will as well. They haven't bought well at all, have they? Really? Buying Callum Wilson is not the. It's not the. You can't just have that. They're getting rid of Edson Alvarez as well, by the sounds of it. So that's another one going out the door. Brighton Hove Albion, Fulham 1-1. I have no idea what happened in this game because who cares?
Late equaliser. Fulham 97th minute. That's all I know.
Did I watch the thing? No. Did I see the score?
Me win my accumulator, but on to the next result.
That's the only reason you did it, because you got your accumulator on it, isn't it? Did anyone watch the game apart from Brighton and Fulham fans? No. Exactly. Tottenham Burnley. Oh, geez, Burnley. It's going to be a tough season for Burnley, isn't it? You can tell already. There are some teams that you can tell already that they're struggling with the pace of the Premier League and the speed at which things happen and the tactical changes. Scott Parker, I don't think is a good enough manager, to be honest. He's not been good in any of his roles. I think this one is just going to prove too much. I actually think Scott Parker will be gone by the next 10 games, within the next 10 games. I don't think they have enough about them. There's nothing there. They've sold James Trafford. They haven't bought particularly well. It feels like Burnley again are happy being a yo-yo club. And that's what they're going to be, isn't it? They'll get another parachute payment back into the Championship, then they'll come back up. Lads, do you have anything different to say? Is it Tottenham? Look, again, Tottenham, I think we already know they're going to be much more different under Thomas Frank, but they've still got players to come in if, and we're going to talk about one of them in a second, but they'll be there or thereabouts, but it's not really anything. I haven't seen anything that says to me that they're going to be absolutely flying through the season.
No, but this is the first time in a long time I'm going to be worried about going there.
Yeah, because it's certainly going to be Wolves, Man City. Now I am worried. I thought Man City looked very, very good, especially to Johnny Reinders. I thought Reinders looked absolutely superb.
They did look very good, but again, I think Wolves were really poor.
I think Wolves were really poor.
Played into Man City's hands, and I don't think Man City really had an easier opening game of the season. They've got a lot of good players, but I think Wolves really helped Man City along.
Yeah, true. Next, so yesterday, Nottingham Forest, Brentford. Nottingham Forest looked very good, actually. The game at home against us is going to be a test.
Is it too late to sign Chris Wood?
God, what's going to be interesting? This early season they'll fly, but when they get back into Europe, because it's going to be tougher, that kind of week in, week out scenario, especially on a Thursday to Sunday, is much tougher than the Wednesday to Saturday for some reason. It always seems like that. So I think Nottingham Forest will do well in the start, but they're going to tail off, and they tailed off badly last year, even with one game a season. So it'll be interesting to see how they do, because they've bought a few players, but they still haven't addressed the midfield. I think they've still got problems in that midfield. Chelsea, Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace should have won this, shouldn't they, really? What was that rule? I'm sorry. Who brought this rule? Who decided to bring that out of the book?
Is that a new rule, or is that something that's always
No, apparently it's a rule that's always been there, apparently. And apparently you can't, it's like opening the door.
Before. Why have they suddenly decided that this is the year?
I think the set piece coach at Crystal Palace needs to review the rule book a little bit, because I think he may thought he had done something very clever, but he really didn't.
We spoke about this yesterday in the chat, and I'm sure Alex probably agree. Yeah. It's things like that are literally killing football, and you're taking the enjoyment out of football. Like someone standing within a metre of the wall, and Eze just bangs an absolute screamer. But that shouldn't be getting disallowed in a million years for something like that. And if they carry on down this path of disallowing things like that, you're just going to find people being less and less interested in the game, quite frankly.
Yeah. This kind of minutiae of rules, of silliness, is just
It's
not
nitpicking,
helping the
isn't
game at all. Yeah.
You're not dealing with the
Alex,
issues that people actually want dealt with. You're picking up on other things to make it look like you're busy, and there's just no need for it.
They're all subjective, aren't they?
It's really.
We're not going to see it in another game, and usually we're the ones who have that against us. But I really felt for them that.
Yeah, because they should have won that, because actually Chelsea were pretty poor yesterday. I didn't think they were very good, despite all the talent that they brought on and everything. One game left tonight. Leeds, who are our opponents on Saturday, versus Everton. Full-blooded. This is proper reminds me of the old school, bloody affairs. Let's give a quick prediction. What do you think, Alex?
I think it's going to be a draw, but I think there will be goals. That's
Joe?
my prediction.
Yeah, I'd like that. I'd go 2-2. Desmond.
Desmond 2-2. I love it. I'm going to go with a 1-1. I think there will be some controversial moments. I think it's going to be full-blooded. I think you can just see it. David Moyes loves a good scrap, and Leeds just love a scrap generally.
Like
so it's
old sort of throwback Premier League game. So it might be quite a good watch.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. Right, let's talk about a few bits of news. So, looks like Eberechi Eze is going to Tottenham by the looks of it. Arsenal really haven't moved for him. There's news that they really can't. Once Ethan Nwaneri's deal was agreed, they kind of fell back from it. I love Eze. Would love him at the club, but I kind of get the reasoning. We are stacked in the number 8/10 role, and as much as I love Eze, 68 million is a lot of money to spend when we are looking desperately for a left winger. And although Eze can fulfill the left wing to a degree, he's not a left winger. So it is sad, but I kind of get the reasoning. Alex, your thoughts on it?
It's going to be a PR disaster if we don't get anyone in through the door.
Yeah.
That's my biggest concern. Like, he's not the perfect player to play out on the left. One thing I would like to see is if we could have got him in, to give Odegaard some rest, to get him in central zones, to at times play him instead of like Declan Rice in that left 8 as well. And so I think he would have answered a lot of things in terms of his profile, but as a winger, he's not the perfect player by any means.
And given our finances, 68 million is a fair chunk of money. You're talking about the Victor Gyökeres deal. That was a fair chunk. We've spent a lot. We haven't recouped much either, and you're talking about prioritization. We've also got Ethan Nwaneri, Max Dowman coming into that position as well. So I love it. I love him. I would have loved him. He would have brought some chaos, but I can't see it. I genuinely thought, okay, they're going for it. I'm ecstatic that one of our own is coming back, but I kind of see the reasoning. Joe, where are you with Eze?
I think we discussed this on the last one, but I think I said he'd probably end up at Spurs now. Just through the noise we was hearing. Like Alex said, I don't think this will be an issue if we go and get a big name left winger by the end of the window. I think it will just be one of those things that we look at and go, why was we so worried in the first place? If we don't get anyone and Eze goes to Spurs, then there'll be a full-scale meltdown, as you'd expect with Arsenal fans. But
so let me stoke that. Let me stoke that by asking the question, both of you: will we get the left winger that we want by the end of the window? Alex?
Flip a coin.
Yeah,
that's where I am.
What's your gut saying? And knowing Arsenal's history,
that's the problem. That is the problem, because I've got like PTSD of Arsenal always going one step too short. Like Wenger, go and buy a DM, go and buy a DM, go and buy a DM, and then we eventually go and get someone. Then it's too late. We need something else. Yeah. This season. It's so frustrating because we left ourselves short last summer. January, we again didn't go. So this summer, we have, out of necessity, we've had to buy this many players. We've had to. Yeah. If you look at our transfer business, genuinely, Zubimendi, although he's coming to the 11, he's a replacement.
Yeah.
Gyökeres is the only player that we have bought to come into the 11. Out of all those buys. So for me, like the club we have to, regardless if it's a yes or no, like we have to. Okay. But my gut says that we're not going to do it.
And Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I think if you look at the Madueke fee, I think that kind of says that was the left wing business, which obviously I don't think is enough. We've discussed at length, that we need more. I think every Arsenal fan says we need more. Universally accepted that we need more, which probably makes it all the more likely that Arsenal won't get anyone.
And on that note, that joyous note, we're going to end it there. Thank you to Alex from aka Forder on Football, from the Cannon podcast, from the Folks podcast. Sorry, I didn't do a proper introduction. Alex, do you want to just give a quick spiel as to where everyone can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube on Forder on Football, sometimes on the Cannon podcast doing some instant reactions, all the thumbnails. If you see anything that looks bizarre, that's my fault. Or on Twitter under Forder on Footy.
Excellent. Joe, we already know where to find you. You can find him here on the Red Lights House.
I'm in one place.
He doesn't even move when we stop recording. He stays there. Thank you, Joe, as always, for joining me. Always love hanging out with you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this episode. We hope you like it. Again, please do subscribe. Subscribe to Alex's channel, Forder on Football. Please subscribe to us. It is greatly appreciated. Arsenal play Leeds at the weekend. We're going to do a little preview show probably later on in the week. But until then, thank you very much. Bye-bye.